We as Red Sox fans just simply can't have nice things anymore, can we? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and the Red Sox took another absolutely massive blow this weekend in terms of injuries for what feels like the third or fourth year in a row. One of the Red Sox most significant players is going to be missing some pretty significant time here as we move forward in the 2024 season, because once again, Trevor Story is hitting the IL with a freak injury, and this is going to have a massive impact on the 2024 Red Sox. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break down sort of the preliminary notes that we have on the Trevor Story injury, talk about what we know right now, what it could possibly mean, how long you could possibly be out for, and obviously how this is going to impact the 2024 Red Sox. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you're new here, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. We talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, these episodes are also now available in audio form on Spotify. That's right, if you don't want to watch these videos or you want to listen to Red Seat Radio on the go, you can head over to Spotify and listen to every single episode in podcast form. The link is in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so for those of you who may not know, Trevor Story actually ended up getting injured in Saturday's game against the Los Angeles Angels. When on the field, he dove for a line drive that ended up in left field, and this was to his third base side. And pretty immediately, you could tell something was significantly wrong. Trevor Story's reaction, but also Rafael Devers' reaction to this injury was pretty immediate. You could tell that this was going to be a pretty significant issue. Yesterday, we got our first official word on what Story was going to be battling as he tries to get back onto the field, because it was officially announced that after an MRI taking place in Los Angeles yesterday, Trevor Story had suffered a shoulder subluxation, which is basically you dislocate your shoulder without actually permanently dislocating it. It popped in and then immediately popped back out, and he was immediately placed on the 10-day IL, which doesn't sound like the end of the world, right? 10 days, Corbin, the Red Sox can survive for 10 days. Yeah, absolutely, but this is sort of a preliminary move. This is sort of the, okay, we know he's injured and going to miss some time. Let's get him onto the IL so we can get someone else up here. It's more than likely that Trevor Story is going to end up missing more than 10 games because we don't exactly know how long Trevor Story is going to be out for. There's a whole wide range of outcomes for this Trevor Story news, and what we're going to have to do is make this a two-part video. This is going to sort of be the first part where I go over how the injury happened, what this means for the team, and then tomorrow we're going to be getting some more concrete information about what Trevor Story's rehab timeline is actually going to look like. As of right now, there's three possible outcomes, basically. The first outcome is the most lucky outcome, and as Red Sox fans, I think we know that luck hasn't exactly been on our side lately. However, it is still possible that Trevor Story gets really lucky here and there's no damage to his ligaments, to his muscle, or to his bone in his shoulder, and he ends up just missing a few weeks as he gets that shoulder back and healthy and ready to go. The best case scenario here is that this happens, and all Trevor Story really needs to do is take some time off, ensure that that shoulder is ready to go, and he misses, I would say, 3, 4, 5 weeks of the regular season. Now, sort of the middle outcome here is that while it doesn't need to or require surgery, it's still going to be a lengthy process to get him back. And in my opinion, hopefully this is the most likely outcome, because this would have him missing about 3 months of the regular season, meaning he would still be able to come back and contribute to the Red Sox in the second half. If he's able to sort of avoid surgery here, he does still have a chance of coming back during the regular season, and it looks like that would be a recovery time of about 3 months, putting his return right around the Red Sox All-Star break, which would still be a sort of positive outcome for this situation, basically a silver lining. Now, the worst case scenario here, which again is, I would venture to guess, just as possible as the best case scenario here, and that is that he needs surgery, that there is ligament damage, that there is bone damage, and this surgery would effectively put him out for the rest of the season. There's basically no chance that he comes back, and we've seen this before within the Red Sox system already. Last year, Miguel Blaze suffered a very similar injury where he had a subluxation situation of his shoulder. Again, we all know that ended up in surgery, and Miguel Blaze missed the entirety of the regular season. Again, I'm just speculating here. These are sort of the three possible outcomes for Trevor Story. Obviously, number one being the best, number two sort of being the middle of the road. Okay, we can deal with that. And number three being the absolute worst case scenario. We are going to have a more in-depth video tomorrow going over exactly how long Trevor Story is going to be out, because we're going to have more information as he meets with a doctor in Boston. There are some things we can look towards, at least right now, in terms of hope for when Trevor Story is going to be back. One of the big ones being that after he hurt his shoulder, he wasn't immediately put into a brace, and he appeared to not be wearing a brace. I couldn't tell on the actual interview itself in the Red Sox post-game presser after last night's game, which could indicate that, hey, maybe this isn't as bad as it could possibly be, and we do end up with a best case scenario here, because again, that is still possible. But at the same time too, there are a couple things that make me really nervous about what this injury is going to end up being, and I think the biggest one just simply being Trevor Story's demeanor and answer to the questions he was asked in yesterday's press conference, because after the game, media met with Trevor Story and he was very visibly upset, rightfully so. He did not look happy with his situation, calling the injury immediately a significant injury, which is never a good thing. And then when asked about whether or not he thinks he can play again this season, he said, quote, "I always have hope for that." It was pretty clear in Trevor Story's media session that this is a serious and significant injury, and it's clear as day he's going to miss, at the bare minimum, more than 10 days after being placed on the IL. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if we see at least 3 months missing of Trevor Story. Again, don't know the full details yet. I just want to make that absolutely clear. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but either way, I'm really nervous about what this ends up being for Trevor Story, and this absolutely sucks for the Boston Red Sox and for Trevor Story specifically. One, because flat out, Trevor Story does not deserve to be a sideline once again. This dude deserves to be on the field. He worked so hard to get back on the field last year. For the first time in his Red Sox career, he had a full and healthy offseason and spring training. It couldn't have happened to a worse player than Trevor Story. This dude has fought tooth and nail to be healthy for this Red Sox team, and he just simply can't stay healthy. No one in baseball deserves to be injured, obviously, but Story in particular, you just can't help but feel terrible for him. And I know there are going to be people out there who call him soft or call him fragile or say he's made of glass or he's soft as baby poop or whatever you want to say. I just don't want to hear that, because to be honest with you, this was an absolutely freak injury. Trevor Story puts everything he has into the sport and for this team, and it just didn't work out this time. It's tough to say that this dude is made of glass when he's flat out putting his body on the line night in, night out, and this night it just flat out didn't work out. I hate when people say that for guys who give their all to a team. The other reason this sucks is because Story was a major part of what the Red Sox were trying to do this year. He was a leader both on and off the field, especially on defense, where even in the first week alone, he was clearly making a massive difference for the Boston Red Sox between what they had last year and what they were trying to do this year. But even on the offensive side of things, no, he wasn't producing early on this season, but there was a lot riding on Trevor Story's success this year. He's a big reason why the Boston Red Sox didn't go out and get another right-handed power bat. They firmly believed that the Trevor Story they were going to get in 2024 was going to be able to be that top of the order type power bat for the Boston Red Sox, that buffer between Devers and Casas, allowing them to do damage, right? Because if you can avoid Devers and Casas, the rest of the lineup isn't looking spectacular right now outside of Tyler O'Neill and Jarren Duran. Obviously, those dudes are absolutely killing it, but as the season goes on fully, those are your two big boppers. You need someone as a buffer in between them to allow them to get pitches to hit, and that was going to be Trevor Story's job. This may be an absolutely impossible task to replace what Trevor Story meant to this team, both as a leader and as a player on the field and in the batter's box. Now, I'm not going to get into huge details as to what the Red Sox could do to supplement the loss of Trevor Story until we know exactly how long he's going to be out. But for those of you who are wondering, David Hamilton was called up in replace of Trevor Story in the short term, at least for now, until they get a clearer picture. I don't absolutely love this idea. David Hamilton was not good last year in the sample size that we saw him. He was not good in spring training in the sample size we saw him. I think there are better solutions to this problem, and again, we'll get into those once we have more information. But for right now, I mean, come on, right? This is probably worst case scenario in terms of guys who could get injured for the Boston Red Sox outside of Tristan Casas and Rafael Devers. Outside of those two, I think Trevor Story's that third name on that list of guys that you just flat out could not lose this season due to injury. Again, I think we're hoping for the best, but expecting the worst in this Trevor Story news. There's no question this is a significant blow, and I truly don't know how the Red Sox are going to respond to this. We saw it already that the defense already looks like it did back in 2023, and that is genuinely worst case scenario here, because if it is as bad as it was and they can't figure out how to overcome this Trevor Story injury, we could be in for a really long season defensively for the Boston Red Sox, and honestly, that's what scares me the most. I don't know what to think about this injury. I'm just unbelievably upset that the Red Sox once again lose one of their key players for a season and are once again having to piece together a part of their roster. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? What do you think about this Trevor Story news? Obviously, we don't know the full extent yet. Maybe by the time you're watching this, we do. But before we get that, what are your initial reactions? How badly do you think this is going to impact the Boston Red Sox? Do you think this is a season killer or anything like that? Is there a possibility that the Red Sox could rise above this? Let me know all your thoughts on what you think the impact of Trevor Story's injury is actually going to be in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said in the intro, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end here, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, you can now listen to these episodes on Spotify in podcast form. Link will be in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.